All right, so we back again, once again, with another episode of the Block Builders USA podcast. Today is Cam Campbell leading, and we're gonna go around and introduce ourselves as builders.
I'm your guy, Bro T.
Sister Lady Hurricane.
And Bro G.
And today we're gonna talk about deciding to move. The topic today is called "I Decided to Move," and the scripture that I'm using is James 1:12 that says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised them who loves him." And we're going to jump it off like this. The very first topic we're going to talk about is realizing that your world cannot move until you move. And I have a quote that says, "Sometimes we will let one person mentally and physically scar us that we won't move anymore." But why is that? Why do we let people, actually stop us from moving?
Well, I would have to say at times we let people stop us from moving because we have a certain expectation that we have in those people, and our expectation that we have in those people, when it's not exceeded, then it causes us to stay stagnant, and we'll stand still and get down on ourselves. But it's only because we put our expectation in people that we couldn't trust.
Okay.
I ain't gonna say so much we can't trust them. It's just more so say, you could either put your faith in man or the Lord. And so knowing that all things work together for the good, that allows you to move forward despite what any man, woman, or child do you. I ain't gonna say that it ain't difficult. It's a challenge, but of course daily we are faced with different tests, and so I just say I stand on the word and just trust it. You know what I mean? Sometimes, again, it's hard to trust what you can't see. But when you done seen the word stand up and walk, it's kind of hard to doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go back with a perspective from mental medicine and what we was talking about previously when you experience trauma. Because no one stops moving forward just for the sake of stopping moving forward. It's going to be some challenge, some obstacle, some trial, some tribulation that a person will come up against. And I'm not saying that they were defeated, but they might have had a momentary defeat, and which caused them to have either physical or emotional or spiritual trauma and damage. And it just it takes time, because we discussed that it takes time to just heal, not cure, but it takes time to just help with wounds and with damage. So I think that can stop somebody from pushing forward just life.
What about, with that being said, is more so the distraction of that wound could cause you to be hindered and not move. So it's all about remaining focused on where you're trying to go.
And persevering.
That's it. That's the only way you can persevere. You got to keep going. You got to keep moving. That persevering is basically in the midst of hurt, harm, sometimes even danger. You got to go. What you say? Even when you're scared, do it anyway.
Exactly.
Feel me?
It's got to. It's got to be in you, not on you, man.
You heard me?
And then, so from a biblical point of view, the story of Paul. So everyone that knows the Bible, that knows the story of Paul, everyone know that Paul was pretty much a terrorist. And it wasn't until later on when he was literally, he was killing all Christians, and he was pretty much just like, okay, anyone who was for God is the enemy of me. But it wasn't until he had a revelation of Jesus himself pretty much was stopping him. And sometimes we actually do need those moments of God actually stopping us to make us move different. Because remember, was it the birds that poked out his eyes?
A bright light shined down and blinded him.
Or what? Okay, cool. So pretty much, for a split moment, Paul had lost his sight. And the only person that gained him sight was the person that took it away, which is, God Almighty. And because he did that, Paul decided to move different, because he knew that if it wasn't for Jesus, he wouldn't actually understand the move he had to make.
Can I also add my little 2 cents in there too, brother.
Add 3.
Well, let me add 3 up.
All right.
So I'm taking the story of Saul before he was converted unto Paul, and what that's saying when he was blinded. You understand? Situations in lives will blind us and put us in a dark spot to where we can't see what's going on. But that's when you go back to saying you got to trust. Sometimes it get hard to trust what you can't trace. You understand? But it's so beneficial because it'll allow you to open up a new door, a new path, a new way to walk, new characteristics that you never knew that you really had into yourself. And it'll also allow you to put off the old man, you know what I'm saying, and become a new creature. You know, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that season.
It's all in there. It's all in there. And I feel as if when it comes to making the decision to move, you have to first start mentally. You know, you have to actually think about, okay, so, for example, 2020, the year of 2020, the year of Corona, the year of, you know, so many people, you know, passing, so many things going on, plus bills, plus the election, plus so many things going on. We have to remain focused. We have to remain focused, and we have to not only just forever just sit in the same spot, but I feel as if because everybody else in the world is moving, we got to continue to walk. Because it's going to be many, like, you know, it's been many times, me personally, like, I've been in circles, and every time, like, there was an idea from my, you know, from my point of view, it was always shut down or always, you know, taken away. So I had to move different. But then when I realized me started moving different, that opened up many doors. But I couldn't open those doors because I didn't have the keys. I didn't have the necessary, you know, knowledge to move like that. So sometimes you just got to cut off, you know, that extra piece of paper.
It's more so just knowing what's within your control.
Right.
We can set goals, we can make plans. The thing about it is we might get delayed, that don't mean we denied. And a lot of times you'll find yourself allowing other people to discourage you. But in the midst of it all, you got to still remain encouraged. You talking about Paul, what about David? He told us sometimes you got to encourage yourself.
All right now. All right now. And I feel like, you know, the hardest thing for most people to do is move. Like, you know, losing that loved one or losing a child or losing that job or, you know, just simply being lost as a person. You feel as if, okay, well, now since I'm in this state of mind, where do I go? Where do I move? I want to move, but I don't have the necessary path. Like, I don't know exactly which path to take. So how would y'all answer that to someone who feels like, since they have lost someone or lost something, where should they go?
Could you rephrase the question?
Okay, so pretty much long story short. So let's just say you know someone, right? And this whole year has been nothing but chaos. How would you tell someone, hey, this is maybe a perspective for you to start moving different? Like what would be a key that you would give them, or a gem, since we building always? What would be like one of the gems that you would drop that would help them, you know, to move different?
I'd tell them to look back and understand that to this point, you've survived 100% of your bad days. So no matter how bad it might have been a day you thought, ain't no way I make it to the end of this day. I'm going to die before this day over with. Well, that day came and went, and you still here. So first I'd use that to change their perspective from a victim to a survivor. So you're not a victim, you still here, you surviving. And then I would let them know, as far as moving, that moving is necessary, but it's not stable. It's not stable to walk.
Right.
If you take off running and then you want to get stable, you're gonna stop. You know, stationary is a stable position. It's a safe position. Anytime you moving forward, you not stable. You can't. So, and as far as with that, like even in a combat situation, which is, you know, you combating life, you combating spiritual forces. In the actual military, they teach you 3 things when you go in combat, which is shoot, move, and communicate. So the first thing being shoot, they teach you how to shoot. And then the second thing is move. So if you can shoot, shoot. If you can shoot and move, shoot and move.
You're amazing.
If you can shoot, move, and communicate, shoot, move, and communicate. But move is the second most important thing for you to be able to move in any situation. Because just laying there, even if you can't shoot, but you can't move, what happens when you run out of bullets? So how that relate to life, you can go on the offensive. You can meet up with an obstacle, and then you could go on the offensive, and you can fight it for however long you can fight it. But if you don't know about movement, if you don't know about, like even in boxing, angles, footwork, getting out the way of things, see, you don't want to go head up with everything in life. You want to be smart enough to know when you need to angle out the way, when you need to move out the way, when you need to change course, shift direction, or however you might want to say it. Go ahead, sis.
I mean, you basically asking, how do we encourage somebody, basically?
To move different.
Well, for one, I mean, who are you?
I'm a child of God.
Who are you as a block builder?
I'm the uplifter.
That's all I'm saying. So we've been given the part. We didn't ask for it. He said, many are called, but few are chosen. He was chosen to be the uplifter. You know why? Because that's within him. So the thing about it is, when you can identify with what's going on with a person, especially being able to speak from experience, the best teacher is experience, right? And so in them watching our walk, that's showing them, that's telling them. I mean, you talking about to lose somebody, look at all of us. I keep saying, bro, Dre lost 3 back to back. You know what I'm saying? I lost a few back to back. You know what I mean? Yourself, LB, you know what I mean? So in our reality, iron sharpened iron. We have our moments where we're in sorrow, but let's take Saturday. That was a day where most people would have been in sorrow, painful. It made a year, man. Mama been gone, and guess what? She loved block builders. We couldn't have done nothing no better. You know what I mean? None of us had no kids, but we came out there and gave to the kids as though they were our own. I ain't gonna say none of us, I'm sorry. But, cause you and LB, I'm sorry. But we over here ain't got no kids. How about that?
Yeah, over here.
You know, but the point of the matter is service. You know what I mean? So it's just all about our service. Our service is motivation and encouragement.
I agree. I'm all ears, baby. I agree. You
Already.
understand?
To answer my own question, I feel as if to let somebody know, just like Bro Greg was saying earlier, because you are still here, it's a lot of people that aren't here, but it's because that you overcome so many obstacles, regardless if we see them or we don't, it's still the fact that, you're still here. So that means that obviously, your task here on earth is not done. So why just stop? Why just sit there in defeat and just like, okay, well, right now, I ain't got no money for no bills. My baby's hungry, I'm hungry. They cut my hours. My life ain't going right. You can't think of it like that. You got to think of, okay, cool. So here's another test of faith. It's simple. Here's another test of faith. So since I know somebody who can help anybody,
You gotta share them with everybody.
everybody. And regardless, if, those who don't believe or those, whatever you believe, you have to understand that, okay, so nobody's going to work harder than you. You have to first build that mindset. Nobody will work harder than you. When you set your mind to something, don't let nobody stop you. Of course, you're going to have those moments of, times like, okay, cool, so I see the enemy coming. I see the enemy coming. I see somebody coming. Okay? You knew that was going to happen. That's how you know you're doing good, because you see, okay, cool. If I wasn't doing nothing, nothing's going to happen. But because I'm doing something positive, of course there's going to be trials and tribulations. It says in the Bible. It's going to happen.
Well, listen at this. And I know we building, but let's take this at a different perspective when you talking to somebody that don't have the faith that we have.
Let me go into it.
Please.
It go into the victor and the victim mentality. That's the two type of mentalities and mindsets you're going to run into when you run across the common person. So they could be hit with the same obstacle. One person going to have that victor mentality. They're going to say, nothing happened to me, everything happened for me. And they're going to roll with the punches. They're going to get punched, but they're going to roll with the punch. And then it got that victim mentality. And that person is going to be that whatever obstacle is, woe is me, it's
Why
not
me?
my
Why
fault,
me?
I don't
Why
know
me?
how I got in this situation, I didn't do nothing that contributed to it, even though you could probably trace it back to a decision they made somewhere along the line, but they don't know how it happened. You know, it's that victim mentality that you come across, and if you got that victim mentality, you stop if a person has that victim mentality, they will stop themselves from moving forward. You could be like, well, that happened, but what if you do this right here? And they're like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to do it this way. I'm like, well, that don't work. They don't want to adjust and adapt. And a person that has that victor mentality, they're going to adapt to whatever situation.
I'm listening to you. You know, y'all know I had got a promotion and I became a trainer.
Oh, yeah.
Then I went from the trainer to a supervisor. Well, of course, in the training department, that's basically where you educating and giving them knowledge about what it is that they're gonna be doing. When you go to operations, your job is to make it operate. And so listening to Greg, when I first came into it, it was so much, and I would be like, man, I had something to say about everything. But then when I thought about it, you know, in that perspective, operations, that means you make it operate, then guess what? Where there's a will, there's a way.
You gotta
You
make
just
it
gonna
work.
have to, and it's all trial and error at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna bump your heads a few times, because guess what? Even in the midst of getting it wrong, you know what not to do again.
And mentalities can shift. You can start off with a victim mentality and then shift to a victim mentality. Maybe the environment you was raised in, everybody had that victim mentality. And then so when you get around somebody who you see they going through similar situations, the same thing, and you see them get out of it, you say, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. And it could go vice versa. You can have a victor mentality and then come across a situation where, you know, sometimes life ain't fair. So you could have a situation to where you didn't do nothing wrong, nothing is your fault, and you get the bad end of the stick.
You're right.
And then that could turn you to a victim, because you know, I didn't do nothing to deserve this.
Right.
So the mentalities can switch either way. You have to lock it in. You have to get that victor mentality, and you have to lock it in and reaffirm it, because things will happen to you and you'll go into the victim, because nobody likes to be wronged.
Right.
You don't like nobody likes to be wrong. So you will feel like a victim, and sometimes you are a victim, but then you got to switch it with that first thing I said. You got to look at it from, nothing happens to me, everything happens for me. And once you can wrap your mind around that concept that even the bad situations, they're not happening to you, they're happening for you, it's easier to grasp that victor mentality.
That's good. I like that, because it goes back to what you were saying as far as persevering to get to where it's good at. You know what I mean? Again, all things work together for the good for those that love Him.
Which brings me to my second point. So it says, once you tell your mind and your body to move, then you start thinking and moving different. I'm going to say that again. Once you tell your mind and your body to move, then you will start thinking and moving different. Because Bro Greg said all the time, it starts up here. You know, it starts with your mind. You know, he said all the time, you know, your mind and your body always having a war. But it's the moment when you actually can collide the two. That's when you find your purpose. That's when you build a purpose.
Because if you go without telling your mind to move, as you said, and you just tell your body to move, there's a difference between movement and progress.
Mm-hmm.
You could be moving and not making no progress, but you're moving, but you're just not making no progress. So you got to tell your mind to move too, and in telling your mind to move, you gonna always think in the direction of where you need to go. Because you'll know I need to do this. I need to go there if you actually just think about it. But we all know, we all have experienced muscle memory before. Like say you're taking that long drive and then you zone out for a minute, and then when you come back, you're like, dang, I wasn't even conscious this last 5 minutes I've been driving. Like, what was I thinking about? Just you go into muscle memory. So you can have movement without having progress. If you ain't thinking, you ain't gonna have no progress.
Exactly. And one of my side points is the crowds that we used to have in our circles held people back. Therefore, we couldn't bring forward ideas to the table. Even when we had ideas, they always got shut out. My mama always used to tell me, watch out for the company that you have around you. And that has always been true. Because, yeah. You know, she always be like, you know, your friends ain't your friends, baby. Your friends ain't your friends. And, you know, the more, like Trina said, you know, the more you experience life, the more you actually find that that's true. Because there's been many times where, you know, like I was saying earlier, you know, you give out an idea and all of a sudden everybody just like, no, that ain't gonna work. But it's like, how can you build if all of a sudden, you know, your point of view or your perspective is not actually being, you know, heard?
I think it's more so having a boldness to identify what's for you. And when I say what, that means even the people. Who and what is for you. And once you can identify it, it's either, like Bro Greg said, we can change the environment if it take us removing ourselves from it. So you can shift it, you know, and have it to work in your favor. But if you're adamant about it, that was last week when you told us regarding Tyler Perry. You know what I mean? Had he listened to even his mama, you know what I mean? The thing about it is, everybody don't see your vision.
They can't.
And I look at it like this here. All us in this room got two eyes, but not every two eyes perceive the same thing.
Exactly.
And
People, and another thing is, when you shouldn't tell your ideas to everybody, and unless you know, not think, but unless you know that they riding with you for real. Because what happened when you tell your ideas to a negative naysayer, of course they gonna tell you, nah, you can't do that. Because what you doing when you telling them your idea, especially if you walking in it, you moving, and you moving forward. But when you moving forward, guess what you doing them? Leaving them behind. And nobody don't want to be left behind. So they don't want to come with you. They like we just said, no two eyes see the same thing. They might not see your goal. They might not see your purpose. So they don't necessarily, and then the path you walking is gonna be hard. So they don't want to walk no hard path for a vision that they don't even see, but they want you to stay in their company. So what they tell you, nah, don't go. Nah, it ain't gonna work. Stay here. But it's for selfish reasons. Like Bro T used to always say, ulterior motives. Whenever you pitch an idea to a friend, because you ain't gonna tell your ideas to somebody that you don't even consider a friend. Nobody walks around and just sees a random person and says, hey, I got this idea, what you think about this? You're gonna tell it to somebody that you trust. And anytime you telling your idea to somebody that you trust, and they say nah, you gotta examine, okay, let me see what they actually saying, because they might be telling you out of love, like, I know you, and I already know that this ain't the direction you need to go in. Or they might be telling you out of, you my homeboy, and I don't want you to, like, say you got a homeboy that's finna, a homeboy or homegirl, they finna move away, and you know that them moving away will benefit them, but it'll leave you by yourself. So you tell them, nah, don't go. Or you start telling, nah, it got a lot of crime in that city, or, you know, I don't think you're gonna like it there, and you doing it with an ulterior motive. You're not doing it for the betterment of that person. You doing it for the comfort of yourself. So a lot of times when people don't let you bring your ideas to the table, it's because in some kind of way it disturbed their comfort.
Say that again, bro. Say that again.
When somebody shoot down one of your ideas or tell you no, it's probably and it's not from a genuine love perspective. If it's just them and they can't tell you why they don't want you to do it, they just don't want you to do it. then it's disturbing their comfort in some kind of way. And that further lets you know that they not real with you, because a real friend will be uncomfortable with you. If they know you finna be uncomfortable, if they know you finna step out there, they gonna say, I ain't gonna let you step out there by yourself. I'm gonna step out there with you, win, lose, or maybe.
Exactly. Like, like moving away from friends and family doesn't make you bougie. It just builds boundaries. It's pretty much like, like you saying, of course you're going to have that team with you, that you can move with, but then, you have to move different if they're not with you.
Bad and bougie is what everybody represents. So if it make me bougie, I'm bad and bougie.
See, when you say moving away from your family and friends, ain't really just going, you know what I'm saying? Even God told Moses to come out from amongst his kin people and go to a land that he going to possess, that he going to give him to possess. But you know what? Moses still tried to take Lot. You understand me?
Right.
And wind up in a bad situation.
So what that mean? He lost a lot?
You lost a lot. Yeah, and he lost a good lot. Like,
For
just
real.
being real, because Lot took the better land.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, what you was finna say, bro?
Oh, I was thinking while you were telling the story, because Abraham and Lot came to a place.
My bad.
Abraham and Lot came to a place where they had to separate, and it had a valley that was fertile, and then it had some other grounds that wasn't as good. And Abraham told Lot, pick which one you want, and I'm gonna go the other way. So of course Lot picked the fertile valley, and you know what was in the valley? Sodom and Gomorrah. So you see, like you not gonna win. Like when God directs something, it could be going, it could be moving. It ain't progress though. No matter how far you move, just like if you hit a foul ball in baseball, you can run all the way to the third base. If it's a pop fly and the catcher catch it, you can make it all the way home. You still out. You still out. It don't matter how far you done went.
Good example.
You at, boy.
Yeah, go home.
Like J. Cole said in one of his songs, he said, good news is you went a long way. Bad news is you went the wrong way.
Exactly. Because the thing about it is, he picked the fertile ground. He had all kind of things. Then he went into Sodom and Gomorrah, ended up with his wife getting turned to a pillar of salt, and him and his daughters living in the mountains. Just because he wanted to be greedy and pick the best land, knowing that he didn't even deserve it.
You gotta move different. All right, so look, one last key point, and we're gonna go ahead, wrap this thing up. So, for those, for our listeners, right now I have a pair of ACU boots, and for those who are in the military, those are the boots that help you, get from point A to point B. So the reason why I have these boots is because this represents walking different. Because no matter how hard and how long you have to walk, if this is the opportunity and this is the key points that God has given you, you're going to have to go ahead and make that walk. And we have soldiers that walk miles and run miles just to get to their destination. But my question to everybody is, what's your boots?
A lot of people want them Jordans that's going to tear out. A lot of people want them Jordans that's going to tear up real quick, like by the week after. Comeback boots look like they're going to take you through the winter, summer, spring, and the fall.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple more of them. Yeah, you're going to be protected. A lot of people just walking without no protection, just walking vicariously. Don't even know where they're going. Like you said, you went a long way, but you went the wrong way.
You went the wrong way.
Well, if you got on the right boots, I guess it's okay, huh?
You need some guidance.
You might be delayed,
You need a
but you
compass.
ain't denied.
You need a compass. Yeah.
So, Trina, what's your boots?
My boots is the faith I hold on to. It started out as a mustard seed. Oh, but that seed has grown. And I ain't gonna lie, sometimes you still, you question. But I remain thankful. I remain grateful, despite whatever the situation is. We done took some bumps and some bruises. I done been in the valley. I done been, you know what I'm saying, even to the mountaintop.
Sound
You know what
like
I'm saying?
Sister King.
Yeah.
Been to the valley low.
All that, you heard me? And so once you've experienced it, you know where it's good at. So if nothing else, I use the resources that I know that will be assistance during the travel. And so shoot, I use the lamp to my feet and the light to my path. Must I go on with what boots I tread in? I get them from the maker.
I'm carried, me, baby.
You heard me?
I'm carried. Footprints in the sand. Mine disappeared. You hear me? I stopped walking. I started getting carried. You hear me? Hallelujah.
All right now. Pro G, what are your boots?
I have to say my dreams and my ambitions.
Keep you moving?
That's what keep me moving forward. And I say my dreams and my ambitions because sometimes they tear up and change. Sometimes I have a dream or ambition and that mug get tore up, and I got to get a new one. But I still be moving forward when I get the new one. I might stop momentarily, but I ain't gonna never stop for good because it ain't in me. It ain't in me to do. It ain't in me to. Some people just lay down and die.
I'm dying with a fight,
They
me.
just lay down and die.
Killing me. I not fight. I war. I battle.
It's nasty.
Life is a battle.
It is.
Yeah, life is a battle, and it's a battle that's so tough you won't make it out alive.
Oh, literally.
Literally. But so my boots are pretty much the room that I know is created, that is being created for me. I know that because I've lost so much that I have to gain something.
At some point, like what
At
they
some
say,
point, exactly.
you can be at the bottom, but it's one direction.
Exactly. So
You're going up.
as much as I've lost, there has to be some room because you think about it, you know, when you lose something, something have to eventually replace it.
The rain can't last forever, man.
The rain can't last forever. So as I continue my journey, as we continue our journey, as our listeners continue their journey, you have to let things happen and make room. And realize that every time you lose something or lose a loved one, there's room being created for you to move different. So you know that whenever your time does come, oh yeah, you're gonna have enough room for that blessing or that lesson. Whenever it do come, you gonna have enough room.
You just gotta accept it and grow with it.
And when it happen, oh man, you gonna look around like, this for me? Little old me? All this for me? Right, me? All this I've been going through? This is what happened? We gonna see y'all next time. We love y'all.